going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, getting ready to start. You know, if you're new here, then that's a shame. If you're not, then welcome to my show, Big Games BS, brought to you by Den Media Group, brought to you by thehumidor.com, the go-to cigars place, go-to website, go-to source for everything in the United States that you need for as far as cigars go. You know, life's too short to smoke cheap cigars and drink cheap liquor. So that's why I have a cigar sponsorship and a liquor sponsorship. Shout out to them for basically renewing. Keeps the show afloat. Sponsors are how we do this and how you help me out. Everybody asks, what can you do? Click the link, share the show, or if you would just spend, say we got 1,400 subs on our YouTube channel. If every one of you would just spend $100 a year annually, that would probably keep me well afloat with the humidor.com. Probably make me more money. Probably renegotiate this or restructure. Then we got like close to 5,000 on a Facebook. Same thing for you guys, and I think like 3,000 or something on Twitter. I don't know. We got to get more active on Twitter. But if you go to the humidor.com and you type in sports den at checkout, you're going to save 20%. So that $100 you spend, technically you're only spending $80. So we're going to save you a little bit of money. If you spend over $150, you get free shipping. All of that good stuff right there. Smoke a cigar, drink coffee, drink liquor, and come to the world's greatest cigar lounge if you live in Jacksonville or if you're traveling. Hopefully one day it's so good we're going to franchise this bad boy. It's Goodfellas Cigar Lounge. It's one of the greatest. It's like a Cheers. Everybody knows your name. You can come here. I saw this in our humidor right now. I don't know if people right here. This one right here. No, you can't. I'm not selling this to you on Facebook or on YouTube because that's illegal. I am just saying that I particularly love Drew Estate cigars. Big fan. This is the sun grown. Good smoke. Last couple of days been one of them days, man. Feel like I got to smoke, got to drink. Why not do it in one of your favorite places where we host our show each time? And hopefully we'll be doing more here. This week, we have the Jack Cigar Festival. So if you're in town or if you're local to here, come check out stuff. Thursday, we're having the opening here. Should be packed Thursday, Friday, Saturday night at different events. Go check out Goodfellas social media or my girl Tracy Irvin. All her different stuff that she's putting this on. It's a great event, great culture. It's going to be basically, white people will be there too, but if you look up Black Excellence, it's basically going to be a personification of Black Excellence. Now, again, what we got going up here next weekend, Tallahassee, Florida, prime time, baby. Florida State versus Clemson. We're going to be having a tailgate. Tailgate goes and celebrates this. So, Miles, if you can pull up the first clip, I think from C.J. Wilson, but it's kind of just shows what the tailgates are all about. We won't be bringing kids to this game. This game is a little bit too expensive for the tickets, but this will go towards the Georgia Tech game, which is right now we're at about 20 tickets that we've gotten raised for the Georgia Tech game with the goal of having 100 tickets bought. So we're going to take a portion of the proceeds from the tailgate to be able to go give young men and women, families, this experience right here. This is really, really cool. CJ was out there passing out tickets to the Woodville Jaguars, I believe, Youth Athletic Association. I think that's their 10U team. So the kids got a chance to go, and unfortunately it was a loss, but the kids had a good time, man. It was a great time, good gathering. They enjoyed their experience, and that's really what this is all about, is rewarding young men and women and their families for doing the right things. Just a couple things that have happened to me since last time, man. There's a place that you won't see me go anywhere anytime soon, and that's called Metro Diner. It's not Metro Diner's fault. They didn't do anything necessarily bad. It is their fault. They didn't do anything necessarily bad. I just ate pot roast that had no seasoning. Seasoning was I've never eaten seasonless Southern food, so I don't know what the fuck they had going on there. I don't know if somebody asked me if this was me trying to say code for white, and no, it wasn't. Actually, my son's godfather seasons his food very well. I really don't understand. There are white people who don't season their food, but then there are some white people who can throw it down my guy. Like my son's godfather is extremely Caucasian. Big Toe. Big Toe is one of the best grillers, and Auntie Becky, actually the first experience of seasonings that Trey ever had was from Auntie Becky when she gave him some green beans pureed, so it made it baby food, but she made sure she put some pork in there, and Trey's whole face lit up, and he experienced it. So, but there are some things that white people do that are questionable. If anybody doesn't season their food more than other ethnicities, it would be white people, and nothing shows unseasoned more than our Republican governor Ron DeSantis, who I am not of the ilk to just call him evil. I've got a chance to meet him before. I know some of these guys. His character, the character that he plays, is fucking evil. The problem is a lot of these guys aren't what you think they are. This guy is not a tough guy. And that's the problem, is he portrays a tough guy on the internet. Like 90% of you. So when you really think about it, he is you. But the problem that I have is when he portrays a tough guy on social media, then he does shit like this. Now, if you notice in the photo, everybody else has on regular ass shoes. Boots, tennis shoes. He's down there doing a photo op down at Fort Myers. I know his old lady is doing some different stuff. The shit you're supposed to do during these times. But like galoshes, nothing wrong with galoshes. And if you don't know what galoshes are basically a fancy way to say rain boots. But come on, my G. These look like hooker boots. Like all you need is some heel. Why did you have to wear white? And you're nowhere near water. Like, why didn't you just? It's just, he's starting to give me who's the fat Krispy Kreme, the governor of New Jersey. He's giving me those vibes, and I don't think he's gonna last a roasting session with 4-5, because when 4-5 come at it, 4-5 come at it. And what do can people explain? I've never understood vest.
George says these are crab boots. That's what they're colored for. I don't know.
Well, he ain't going crabbing. I can tell you that much. He ain't going crabbing. Why the fuck are you wearing them in the middle of the street? There ain't a crab in sight or a boat or any water. Like, he's literally like... Anyways, man, it's just an interesting choice of apparel, is all I'm saying. Is listen, not this is not any views on his politics. This is all strictly based upon he looks like a fucking goofball. And that's what ends up happening to us sometimes in our political games. We'll talk a little bit more about politics on the sports side, because there are some noted sports celebrities that are into some things, that are embroiled in some battles, political battles, but and also some personal dramas. But I just find all of that very, very, very interesting. What I find also very, very interesting, and I also hate, is fucking baseball. I have tried. I like getting into the excitement of baseball. Baseball is getting on my last fucking nerves, though. And this is what I mean. James, why do you say, how could you? It's so exciting to see Aaron Judge go for a record. He's getting 62 home runs. Wow. Incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive of an athlete that Aaron Judge is. He is a massive human being. Aaron Judge did not break a baseball record. The baseball record is by Barry Bonds. It is 73 home runs. It is not 62. This is why baseball is lost the fans that it created. See, I was a kid. I was in high school during that summer with The first summer with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were just dropping bombs, seemed like every game. We knew they were juiced. Look at their heads. You could tell that there was a lot of juice going on. And yes, I know he broke, but a lot of people, there have been 3 other people who have broke Roger Maris's record, George. We're going to get into the punk that is Roger Maris. here shortly, extremely shortly. Now, what I will say is this: is that baseball holds their purity in their record. Like some of the records, we could just say the accomplishments are good. I'm never gonna knock Babe Ruth's record. Babe Ruth did a lot of work, especially when I found out that Babe Ruth probably is black, even though people didn't realize that Babe Ruth was black. Don't judge me. Go look it up. Go look up his background. Look up the different things and the way he moved and the way he acted. Now, when Hank Aaron broke the record, people were so shocked and ashamed that they wanted to threaten this man's life for playing baseball. I don't understand this purity in this baseball thing and why we still keep this, because the words and the way that people talk about it just it reeks of making America great. And like, there's nothing wrong with making America great, like in of itself in the statement. But the problem is when you ask people when, it's just uh, whatever, man. But the point is this: Aaron Judge is a phenomenal baseball player. But phenomenal baseball players should be honored. Phenomenal baseball players don't interrupt America's game, football, to see them hit something that's already been broke over and over again. It's not new anymore. And it's just like, let's talk about steroids for a second. And if you can go click on one of them is actually with Roger Maris. And I want to talk about Roger Maris and his statement that he made. Steroids by itself, I didn't give you another one for baseball's purity. Damn. All right. Baseball in of itself doesn't it doesn't just make you a better athlete. It doesn't make you a mutant. Taking test performance enhancements, which we got a new sponsor, Alpha Male Jax. It doesn't make that in of itself doesn't just make you great. You still have to work. All it does is give you the ability to work a little bit harder. And it does, because of that, guys with extreme work ethics that are average athletes can now become good. It doesn't take away from your hand-eye coordination, which is why Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player of all time. Now, what it does do is it changes when Barry Bonds makes contact with that motherfucking ball. Like, because now the ball is going to go further but he had an elite hand-eye coordination before that. Barry Bonds was a 30 home run, 30 steals guy. He was going to the Hall of Fame before his head grew three sizes more. Now, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire probably weren't. Mark McGwire was bouncing around in the minor leagues before he found the pin. Now, it also helps prevent injury. I see my man George put this right here. If Ken Griffey had less injuries, Ken Griffey Jr. would probably be the greatest baseball player who ever lived. But the thing is a lot of people make a lot of these assumptions, these assertions based upon things that we all know are rooted in them just being terrible people. It's basically Roger Maris is looking like Brett Favre minus stealing from the people in Mississippi. Mind you, perfect time to remind you people, Brett Favre is still a piece of shit. Just figure we say that. I'm going to remind people this until this man is doing time or pays for what he did. But Roger Maris, and I know we couldn't find it, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to say this. Roger Maris went out at Roger Maris Jr., or his son, I believe that's it. Congratulations to Aaron Judge and his family on Aaron's historic home run number 62. It has definitely been a baseball season to remember. You are all class and someone who should be revered. All things that are true. For the majority of fans, we now celebrate a new clean home run king. You some bitch. You some bitch. You know what this man has? There's a picture of him hugging the neck of Mark McGwire when he broke the record. Loving every minute of it. And you knew, and we all knew. Guys, I'm gonna go. I always bring up this survey that was taken. This survey was taken in the mid-90s. And it was with athletes of different sports. And what they asked was, if you could take a pill and that pill would take 10 years off of your life, but it would make you one of the top 5 players to have ever played your sport. Would you take it? I believe it was something above 85% of all athletes in that survey said that they would take it in a heartbeat. You know what that tells me? And you know what I know to be true? 85% of athletes, or whatever that line is, they have a big toe over it at minimum, if not stepping all the way over it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're taking steroids. It means that they're doing everything that they know possible to give themselves an advantage to be able to stay in the sport and perform at a very, 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 very high level. And you know who's probably doing this too? Doing some sort of blood infusion, steroids, HGH, something. Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge. Who should you think I was gonna say, Miles?
Brady.
Now we're gonna get with Brady. Brady's doing something, but it ain't like that. We just can't figure it out because Brady's doesn't make sense. But Brady, again, if somebody put that in the comments, trust me, we're gonna get into that. Can't that's next. Brady is matter of fact, is that next? Let me go look at my notes. Because the thing is, what I've learned is I can get a lot more in if I structured it more. You know what? Before I get to that, we got to talk about the guy who almost ruined my fantasy football, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa is now part of an NFLPA investigation. They are going to literally question him and tell him to do what the CTA, what Will Smith, who now is trying to get back in Hollywood's good graces by portraying a slave, because that's what we need, is the 7,000th slave film to have ever been made. Like, ain't nobody making Holocaust films like this. You ever see any other tragedies why don't they made a Nat Turner movie and they immediately like tried to find something wrong with the guy who played Nat Turner. Like, well, they don't ever make the movie about the guy who stole a Confederate ship and freed a bunch of slaves to the North.
Oh my gosh.
It was such a badass dude. Such a badass dude.
We can't make that movie.
Like I'm saying, like they don't ever give you the good. Like they give you 12 years a slave of a successful black freedman being kidnapped and being in bondage for 12 years. That's fucking depressing. Anyways, Django was pretty good. I never seen it, but the premise is kind of badass. I like some of the clips, but this guy, tell the truth. That's what the NFL is going to. Maurice Smith, who's the softest person in all union organizations, is going to come to Tua and say, tell the truth. Tell the truth. But this guy who the movie Concussion was based on, Bennett Omelette, or whatever his name is trying to is telling Tua that he just needs to retire or basically he's gonna die. And I'm not gonna I don't know if that's true or not, because it looked really, really bad. And I do know the minute you get a second concussion, you're on par and on pace to get another one. But there have been a lot of but before I go into actually, no, I'm going to go right into my thoughts on, and this was before Will Smith played him. So I don't like Will Smith, not because Will Smith's a bad person. It's because of who Will Smith has become with that bitch. Will Smith does not know, like Will Smith does not look in the mirror every day and say, bitch, I am Will motherfucking Smith. And that's what Dr. Kevin Samuels, the late, great prophet of our era, was trying to get him to realize, bro, you are like you have reached the precipice of manhood. You are the man that every woman wants. You're rich, you're handsome, you're well-spoken, you're driven, you work hard. And yet you are getting ran by a chick who is the most insecure woman on this planet. It's sad. But that's not why I don't like this doctor. The reason why I don't like this doctor is because he's a fucking farce. And nobody went with the information. And that's probably going to be another one of the underlying themes, which we always have these on these shows, of people taking a headline or people taking something that they like and they agree with, and they just run with it. You never do the research. Bloods and Crips, Republicans and Democrats both do this. Do you know this guy is not even a scientist anymore? He went to the place where he knows you can make money. He's in a church. He's basically an evangelical salesperson. He built a career on distorted science. And you know what? You know what he is, Miles? It's Nigerian. You know what Nigerians are known for?
Oh man,
scamming. This isn't James Coleman speaking. This is his peers right now. This is his peers across the brain science community. There's one consensus thing. Amlalu, whatever, the man was considered by many in the public, the face of CTE research. Routinely exaggerates his accomplishments and dramatically overstates the known risk of CTE in contact sports, fueling misconceptions about the disease. According to interviews done with more than 50 experts in the neurodegenerative disease and brain injuries, and the review of more than 100 papers of peer-reviewed medical journals. This isn't your YouTube shit. This isn't the conspiracy. These are doctors who this is what they do. Have all, and this is why I tell people I joke about CTE. I don't necessarily believe in CTE. I believe CTE is the boogeyman that they sprinkle on ain't shit people to make them feel better. If you notice with CTE, everybody who has it, you know what they also have? Drug addiction, alcoholism, all kinds of other shit. Amalu did not discover CTE, nor did he name the disease. The alarming statistics he recites about contact sports are distorted, according to the fucking authors of the reports that he uses. You know what that is? That is somebody basically saying you're a bold-faced lie. You used my stats to prove your point, but you did not use my stats in the proper context, is what they say. You want to know what everybody paints this sport, football, because we know, and again, because Herschel Walker's doing it, that's why I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to make race a thing, and you'll find out later in the show if you listen to it what I mean by that. It's because it's 70% African American on the NFL level. It's about 80% on the collegiate level, and it's probably damn near 90% depending upon where you live on the high school level. It is definitely to make it perceived as more barbaric. You know who has the highest rate of CTE? Girls soccer. You don't see movies about that. You see Bend It Like Beckham. That's what you see about soccer because it's more fun to watch. We don't want to believe we're actually bringing our daughters into situations where they're going to not know their names. But then you see how ditzy some of them are. We get a chance to deal with them now. But Dominique Foxworth told the truth. And this is real. Now, I will say this. I'm not naive enough to believe that running full speed into another human being will not cause damage to the body. It will. That's dumb to not believe that. But so will me taking metformin as a diabetic. They've got plenty of studies that show that metformin leads to dementia. But nobody's going on this big campaign to remove metformin because metformin actually makes my disease a little bit more bearable to deal with since I choose not to make changes to my diet. You know what football did? Football probably saved me from killing some of y'all motherfuckers or going to jail. But this is what Dominique Foxworth said. Oh, you got to pull that up, Miles. But while Miles is pulling that up, I'm going to pull up, I think, with Jim Jones. So that's what I talked about. His review will be made, when Tua does his interview, it will be made public. So we'll all get a chance to know what really happened in the Dolphins organization. We will see that this could be what saves Mike McDaniel's job. But here's what Dominique Foxworth said, and I feel him 100% on this. This is true. It's a case of multiple things can be true at the same time, but this is 100% true. Go ahead, push play.
We all got to take responsibility. And I think Mike McDaniel in that press conference, he should have taken responsibility. Don't pretend like you out here protecting all the players. Take responsibility for the role that you played in that. And Swagoo's taking responsibility for not raising more noise before that. He's taking responsibility. All of us, and the fans in particular, need to take responsibility because it's not just these ugly hits that are a problem. Like every weekend that there's football played, there are players out there who shake hands afterwards and feel fine, but they have gotten closer to having some sort of long-term issue or having some sort of CTE. So we all understand that. We accept that. And what frustrates me is all these people, fans in particular, pretending like they give a damn about Tua or they give a damn about football players all of a sudden. When we're in these collective bargaining meetings and we're arguing to not have Thursday games after Sunday games, to have a bye, to not have a 17-game season, arguing to increase the pay of players because the risk of this game is so damn high. There are not fans up there fighting and throwing themselves all in a tizzy on Twitter because of that. They're yelling at us. They're like, no, get back and play football. So just keep that same damn energy. You give a damn about Tua now, give a damn about all the rest of the players in the offseason when we're trying to fight to have a second opinion. We have to give up percentage points of our salary cap in order to force the teams to give our players a second opinion and doctors. And don't nobody give a damn when we're doing that. It's frustrating.
And that's all I'm saying is you really don't care. Like, so this is what these collective bargaining agreements are about when you're like, and when they paint it millionaires versus billionaires, which is not. Most of the NFL, well, in 10 years it will be because everything is increasing. But when they're making these arguments, they're making this when they're saying don't add a 17th game, it's because of play. But then they're saying you can't do these things for player safety. When they're saying don't give me a Thursday night game immediately after I play a Sunday night game, don't have me go to London and then make me go and play right away. Give us some built-in breaks. Give our bodies chances to heal and do other things because you know what? Let's say CTE is real. It's not the boogeyman that people believe it is, but brain deterioration, whatever you want to call it, is real. Dementia, Alzheimer's, things of that nature. Let's say those things are real. Let's say those things are truly things that I have to look forward to because I believe it. I'm actually my mother's father, who I don't know, I believe is dealing with dementia right now. My grandmother's in her right mind. That old bird is strong. But I say, so all these things I'm willing to concede. These things are going to happen, right? What about the broken hand, the torn shoulders, the messed up knees, all these other things that are very dangerous and violent towards football? I would rather my quality of life be great up to when I'm 70 than to worry about getting to 70. That's just not the way that I'm programmed. I don't want to live a shitty life just to live long. That's called torture. I'd rather just live my life and have a dope ass fucking life. Well, you know what sometimes helps you live a dope ass fucking life? Relationships. You know what? Sometimes you have to make decisions of relationships, whether to end them or whether to begin them. And what's going on right now across the world, from what I believe at least across the world, is cuffing season. Cuffing season has different phases from what I've been told. There is free agency, there's the draft, there's free agency, there's cutting, there's this. And October is basically when the season starts. It's October all the way up until Valentine's Day. Now, sometimes you make a bad pick. I think Tom Brady made a bad pick. Somebody put in the comments that I've been talking about this since Tom Brady decided that he wanted to retire. We've learned this. The thing that nobody wants to tell you, and I believe that I said the late great Kevin Samuels was trying to tell you people this, is that people who are excellent and great or at the top of their jobs are Zoom focused on one thing, and that's becoming the best. They don't give a damn about anything else besides being the greatest that they could possibly be. And when Tom Brady retired, I already knew that he was going to be unretired after a certain amount of time because every man who's never had to be on this level understands that how annoying honey-do list or how annoying it is after you've worked the hard day of trying to fight the world to have somebody tell you it wasn't good enough, to have somebody keep heaping more and more responsibility on you. You'd rather go get hit by a 350-pound mutant that's running a 4.5. You'd rather risk CTE than get into an argument with that woman. Especially in this day and age where women are, I'm not here to argue the right, wrong, or indifference of it, but women are more empowered. Women have more rights. Women are filing for I believe it's 80% of all divorces. It is a bad contract for a man in this day and age. Because all you're doing, for the most part, unless you're Tom Brady, is entering a contract in which you're going to have to pay to break. Now, luckily for Tom Brady only is worth $260 million. And Giselle is worth $400 million. And per state of Florida, the parent that makes the most money, you know what the parent who makes the most money has to do? Pay fucking child support. So I am all for equality in this scenario. I believe you deserve your rights. Yes, sir. Yes, Giselle. Now, and then all the women who aren't Giselle. And if you don't know who Giselle is a Brazilian supermodel. Not my type. I can see the beauty in her, just not my type. I like them thick, or to quote science, because we're a scientific based show here, people. I love science, and I love that And I remember Sir Isaac Newton likes his women thick too, and he made that statement. And it wasn't necessarily, you can't just say I like them thick, because that doesn't help. That doesn't help people understand what it is you want. And what it is for larger mass attracts masses. So I like a large mass on the back, on the posterior. It attracts me. So, but we've seen Tom Brady. Right now he looks like I can't say what he looks like, because that would get me canceled. Well, no, he just looks. You know how you see the skinny old white lady PE coach with the short haircut. Can I say that? I'm saying it without saying it, right? I'm not trying to be offensive, but they're going for that look, right? Anyway, but bottom line is that's what he looks. The glow up for Tom Brady is going to be so great. I can't wait to see Tom Brady go into this season. And I personally believe that Tom Brady, there's only one thing that will fix Tom Brady. And I joked about this, and I think we've seen it with Dirk, even though I don't think he just married her straight out. But we saw how happy Dirk Nowitzki was. He came to every game. He came with a plate with aluminum foil, not aluminum foil, aluminum foil. It's because he got him a good, thick, dark-skinned black woman. That is what Tom Brady needs. I know Dr. Umar Johnson and some of my racist conservative friends are not going to like this, but here's where I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to intercede. I actually sacrificed my friend Sheena up in North Carolina. Sheena needs to go and just give that man a plate, Sheena, and make that man happy. I guarantee you're going to see Tom Brady do some more smiling. He's going to be more happy, and nothing pisses anybody else off more than that. You know what I mean? When you gonna get all the black women? That's right, girl. Go get your porcelain prince. Go get this. Go get that. And you're gonna see all the women who he left Giselle for that thick-thighed, thick-lipped, dark woman, and everybody gonna be like, yeah, you left her for that. You see that ass? And that's what. And all the old white men gonna be like, son, that's what I'm talking about, Thomas. Yeah. But looking at they thin-lipped wife, being like, oh, baby, I would never leave you for her. But I'm just saying, I understand. I just think that's the only way, because there is nothing more than she gonna build this man's confidence back up, and she gonna. And don't get one of these young ones now, Tom. Get you an old. Remember, like I told you, I understood the entanglement when I got entangled. If she can't make peach cobbler, don't mess with her, Tom. You're a king. Know your worth, bro. You got to go get one that can bake and cook. I'm telling you, that is difficult to find. Most of them can do one or the other. Actually, nowadays, most of them can't do either. But if you can find one that does both, bro, you're in a whole nother league. I just like this for you, because it's just I just don't know. But I think if you found you one, your life would be better. What happened? Oh yeah, my man George is going ahead. I just can't read the shits like that, man. I gotta get glasses, man. I don't put what George said. George is always saying something slick before. Hold on, let's say Tom never listened to his dad when he told him bitches, "Hey man, listen, I bet, but you know he'll listen to Snoop or Migos. I bet if Migos said it in a song, because Tom is like this. Tom is the Tom is what I like about some people in politics. Like you, just because you vote for somebody doesn't mean that's who you are. Like I don't agree with my mom is my favorite person in the world besides my boys. I love her to death. But you know what? I don't agree with everything my mama say. Does that make me hate my mama? No, it makes me a real person. And Tom voted for 4-5. That's his boy. But he also, after he won the Super Bowl, he was in a club with Migos. I mean, that's to quote Dave Chappelle, the reality of the situation is most of this stuff is really not relative to white or black. It's relative to green or non. Red and black, if you will, like your bank account. Is your bank account in the black or is it in the red consistently? There are things, there are constructs, there are racial constructs. I don't want people to think I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying right now, Tom Brady needs a black woman in order to play better. He has looked sad, guys.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in it. This bitch is taking his kids, man. And just think about this, man. Do you really want to be, if your dad is Tom Brady and your mom is a supermodel, that means you're not eating like you want. That's why he's skinny. He got to eat like a supermodel. Have you ever seen models eat? They don't ever get full. It's like that bitch who I posted on Monday that was talking about low vibration plates. Like the kid wants the plate with all the food. And the chick wants the high vibration plates and shit like that. Like whatever the fuck she was talking about. Like, I still don't know. If anybody knows, let me know. But right now, what I'm saying is on the market is a supermodel. Ooh. Yo, I bet he would never be happier in his life. My man Charles Walker just dropped a bomb. That's some bomb. We got to get that little machine so we can drop one of Clue's bombs for him on that. I bet you Lizzo would do things to Tom that he never knew was even imaginable. Oof. I'm sorry, guys. I am curious about Lizzo. I don't give a damn what nobody said. When I saw her play that flute, my mind just went. It just went, because I mean, just think about how many slave masters had their flutes played with by big women.
Oh my God.
So everybody was sitting there like, oh my God, he's scrolling over in his grave. Yeah, but not for the reasons you think he's rolling over in his grave. He's rolling over because we know big women can play flutes. And but again, Lizzo, a pretty big bitch. Like, y'all can say what you want to say, but if Lizzo is one of the girls who, if she didn't have the confidence she had, or if she wasn't like an entertainer that was famous, she would be the bitch that has the picture from the head up on her Twitter. And you would be like, yo, I'm going to jump in her. Well, not me, because I don't jump in DMs. You could jump in the DM and you'd be like, man, she pretty. Now, boom, then she shows up to you and be like, whoa, that's a lot of person. But then you'll be like, you know what? But she's still pretty, though. And some of y'all have had worse. I know it. I have a friend who potentially got into a bad situation. And all he talked about was how bad bitches he dated. And this chick she wasn't even ugly. She just wasn't bad. I'll say that. She was mid. And mid gonna sell. No matter what the market is. Mid been selling. And she was calling him out. He didn't want to claim her. He was, I ain't never been with her. I don't know her. Bro, we know you knew her. It just fell away from what your actual critiques of your real life are. And you got to chill on that, man. Name, image, and likeness scares people more than it really, really should. Scares people more than Lizzo being butt-ass naked at a Lakers game. More than it should if you're a straight male. You may not like it, but listen. It shouldn't bother you that much if you're a straight male.
Scared of it.
Yeah. So the headline is this. Multiple SMU players plan to sit out the rest of the season and enter the transfer portal. The transfer portal doesn't open up until after the national championship. They've closed the portal. Like, there's nothing that, like, again, remember, we've talked about this numerous times. Remember the guy who from On Three who said that the wide receiver who transferred from Pitt to USC was mad because he wasn't getting his money. And then his only sources told him that he may or may not be mad. Like it's none of this shit is grounded in any real truth. Like they don't even try to cite their sources. And to be honest with you, when was the last time any of us cared about SMU? Besides when they had the Pony Express. So the fuck what? So what does this? So this one guy does this. So what does Darren Rovell do? Another bitter guy who never did anything with his life that covers sports and does not like NIL. First came players sitting out of bowl games to ensure they didn't get hurt and lower their draft potential. The reason why players started doing that is because motherfuckers who got hurt in the bowl game, it lowered their draft potential, which is the whole reason you play this game. Why go out and risk your life for a meaningless bowl when you can go make millions of dollars? Here's what's next in the NIL era, which that didn't happen in the NIL era, that happened before NIL, but whatever. Players sitting out to stay healthy for the transfer portal. Expect this to happen at Miami, Houston, and Michigan State. Now, Darren Heitner, except this has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. This has everything to do with wanting to transfer and get a better opportunity to play. Maybe you don't like SMU. Maybe it's a lot of things. Now, what happens is, what does sitting out do for you? The NCAA has a rule. You get to play in 4 games. If you play in 4 games, if you play more than 4 games, you don't get a chance to redshirt. If you play in 4 games or fewer, you get a chance to redshirt, so you get that year back. It's actually something that's very commonplace at most universities. They redshirt freshmen. It happens. That's typically the year you do it. Then if you get hurt, you get something called a medical redshirt. You only get one of these. Now, coaches cut players or tell them to transfer whenever they want to. So what happens is and this is the, again, underlying themes of the entire NIL. Players owning their own careers. I don't understand, and I'm going to talk about what never gets written about in this name, image, and likeness era or this new pro era of sports. Why Miami, Michigan State, and Houston are specifically mentioned? Because and his only reason is because they're mid programs. They have a better shot at Oklahoma and A&M to retain players. Like it's a shot in the dark. You use NIL so that you can get the clicks, so that you can fear monger. You're basically taking political and mass media strategy and bringing it to sports so that you can help dumb down an audience that isn't any smarter than what you are. It's stupid. But here's what I had to say to this. A record number of schools are firing coaches a few games into the season to try to get a jump on the transfer portal in the NIL era. That makes about as much sense as this. They blame everything with the student athlete on the NIL era. But yet and still, the things that cause student athletes to want to transfer, the things that the older, more of a descriptor, the older white male population are getting able to do, which is leave a job or as I call, fail forward. You fail forward when you get fired. Like, this was like, all right, so Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech, he got fired. It's like, so just, oh man. Jeff Collins got fired. He lives in the city of Atlanta, right? And he's getting paid to not work right now. You're so bad at your job that we don't want to pay you. But we're not paying you because you didn't win. And that's going to hurt our ability to get athletes and our ability to get them NIL. So we got to get rid of you. But here's $16 million right here. And what's wild is they're not paying these guys in disbursements anymore. They're giving them like upfront money. Like, I think it was Colorado's coach negotiated to where I'll have all my money in 90 days. I'll take a little bit less if you give me all my money in 90 days. So what happens is they get that money, then they go get paid $1 million to be a coordinator somewhere else. Then they restart this cycle. Auburn's been firing their coach since he got there. All these coaches make millions. So like these the money has to go somewhere. right? You're getting these huge TV deals. You're not paying the players. So you're meaning to tell me you have $16 million to pay a coach to not work. And then you've got another $10 million a year, because that's what's going to be the going rate very soon, to pay a coach to work, and you're going to guarantee all the money. Texas A&M right now is talking about they have enough money to be able to buy out Jimbo Fisher's new contract. They're on the hook for $96 million. But let's talk about the kid that gets an average of $250 a deal for NIL. That's what's the 250 funky. Americans, we have allowed the people who make $4,000, $5,000, $40,000 an hour to convince the people who make $40 an hour that it's the person that makes less than $5 an hour that they're the problem. Do you realize how stupid that looks? Me, as a guy who don't care how much money you make per hour, as long as it doesn't affect my money. Again, as I've always stated this, if you play collegiate sports, you're in the top two, no matter what sport, no matter what level, you're in the top 2% of all people in your profession. Top 2% of the population. Very few, if you're the top 2% of all dentists, you're going to get paid a lot of money. If you're the top 2% of estheticians, you're going to get paid a lot of money. If you're the top 2% of all barbers, you're going to make them a lot of money. A female basketball player who's fine probably has a better chance of being in the top 2% of OnlyFans and make way more money than what she's making right now playing a sport. It's crazy how we live, the hypocrisy of the American capitalistic system. It's cool when they do it, but it's a problem when I do it. Isn't that a rap song? I think like Kevin Gates. Somebody said, it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. Fuck them. Like, I don't, but again, I do know why. And I'm not bashing you for knowing why or feeling this way. I'm just telling you what happens is we cannot grow. We cannot move forward if we don't acknowledge first and then correct it. That's called accountability. I, James Coleman, don't want my son to suffer more than I ever did. I went and took a picture of my old apartment complex that I grew up in to show my son that he'll never live in an apartment complex like that. And you know what his son should do? His son should never live in a house like the one he's growing up in, and I actually like my house. The goal is to let them do better. And his friends or somebody else. I have very rich friends that I get to kick it with, and you know what? I don't get mad at them. I will always say, because I look at taxes differently. I hate paying them, but it's an incentive structure. Like, that's why I own businesses. That's why we create anyway, that's for my tax guy. It's Hal's job to talk to y'all, not mine. Go pay Hal a lot of money. He'll hook you up. He'll show you how to not do some things the right way. But it's just, I've never understood the hate, and I never understood why you have to stretch. Like, to stretch that much, you're going to fucking pull something. To make it seem like these SMU play. You know what? Fuck this. Let's do some more research. Because I hate when people just put this shit out here, right? SMU recruiting class. Because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, he's right. I might be wrong, right? It happens. I don't go around feeling like I have to be right. I have my opinion. Or my hypothesis. You come in, you refute it with facts. I will change my stance. So they had the 49th ranked class per 247. RJ Maryland might be somebody that everybody wants. The vast majority of guys that they signed, actually, holy crap, they didn't even sign a full class. They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They signed 13 high school seniors last year. Two no stars. One of them was a kicker. One of them was a D lineman. I can promise you nobody's going after them. A quarterback, not even nationally ranked. Like, what happens is typically when you get an offer, you become a 3-star. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the guys are not nationally ranked. They're 3 stars because they hold an offer from SMU. Let me see what this Anthony Davis kid was. Who were coming after him? Just want to sometimes get a good idea. I mean, he has some actually pretty decent D1 offers. Isaiah Smith, undersized edge. He was a 775th ranked player. Dylan Frazier was a 635th ranked player. As a D lineman, he was 6'5", 250. 632nd player. And the 4-star, the highest ranked guy, tight end, was a 342nd ranked player in the nation under Rhett Lashley, who just got there from the University of Miami. I can argue that none of this has anything to do. Chris Frazier bounce. We're not really talking politics. We talk about sports, bro. Get the fuck out of here. I hate when people come on my show and tell me what to talk about. Like, only one of us gets paid to have an opinion. It's called Big Games BS, not Chris Schaefer's BS. But all that being said is name, image, and likeness, and your fear of it is rooted in your ability to truly hate the capitalistic society in which America has raised all of us to be in, because more than likely you don't get to participate in the capitalistic society because you're not one of the 2%, or you're just not good enough at your place or your profession of what you choose to do. And if those players choose the red shirt, that's within their rights. When they're doing something that's outside of what their rights are and what's been negotiated, that's when you should have a problem. That's just the truth, and that's the reality of the situation. Now, to really make people mad, we're going to talk about politics, but not politics in the way that you just think. It's the hypocrisy. And really, when you think about it, this guy's probably better at it than anybody else because he was one of the best running backs that ever exist. And that's Herschel Walker. And really, when you think about it, the counter is nothing more than the hypocrite of a stretch play. You run the stretch, then you run the counter based off of it. I don't like it because I know how to separate the two. This is really going to make some people's mind blow because I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to talk about somebody else. Right now, this is not necessarily against him because, again, I'm a Republican. Herschel Walker is running for Republican against Ralph Roanoke. Herschel is pro-life, has stated that he's been pro-life. He's about fathers being in the household. He's about Christian morals and Christian principles. And I'm going to really mess some people mad. If anybody has to tell me that they're a Christian, and if Christian is in your bio, I typically don't believe it. I want you to show me that you're a Christian. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to see it. I don't need to hear it. I need to see it. I don't need to see the pictures of you on Sundays praying and prophesizing. I need to see you out here in the community taking care of the lowest of the low. But Herschel is pro all of this other stuff, but then he paid for an abortion. He's got numerous kids out of wedlock. And he talks about absentee fathers. And then what's wild is every Christian that I know is jumping on this Herschel Walker bandwagon because of his Christian values, which he absolutely doesn't uphold. But the pastor is the one that they say is a piece of shit person. And he actually all the values they have, they're literally going counter to what they actually espouse to be. And I think that's kind of messed up. And what really bothers me too, and I told people this, just like I told people that Tom Brady was hiding from something. He was running away from his marriage, and he wasn't happy. Christian Walker, which is Herschel Walker's son, is a member of the community. And he when I saw him making a lot of statements, and I saw them, putting his dad, because you can tell when somebody's getting ready to run. They become a little bit more active and stuff. And he was very
your kids instead of ran off to bang a bunch.
Would do in those situations. But I was listening to what his father was saying, And I was listening to what he was doing, and I'm like, that's sad because that's not gonna make your father love you more. And I didn't mean it from a place of hurt. I meant it from a place of, here's a kid that's really reaching out to his dad to try to find that place. But go ahead, play with Christian Walker. This is what Christian Walker has to say, the truth about his father. And this is why this bothers me. I hate men in general who don't take care of their children. Doesn't matter to me what you are, who you are. I just don't like when people don't take care of their kids. I don't hang out with guys that are like that. But
fathers, it would be great if you stayed home and raised your kids instead of ran off to bang a bunch of women who weren't your baby mama. Stay home and raise your freaking kids. Your kids need a father. Get back home. Get back home. If you take out your thing and you get a woman pregnant, guess what? The party days are over. The acting foolish days are over. You go get a freaking job and you support your new family. Get home. Raise your kids. Kids need a man in the house raising them. They need a good dad. They need a loving father. And while you're out taking shots of vodka and tequila, living your high life, your kid is suffering. Get home. Get home. Raise your kids, fathers.
I will say this. Sometimes
get home.
Sometimes it just goes like over the top. It's just too much for me. But again, it's not necessarily about being anti-Christian. I actually am I'm not so again, I'm very plural when it comes to that. I'll just be honest with you. There is something that's higher than us that is that moving things. I've had way too much crazy shit happen to be able to think that was chance. But I will say this is that I look at it, actually, when you look at what the Bible is, and you read the story of Jesus and his homies, like they weren't just running around hanging out in church, and they were very flawed individuals. I know sailors. I've never been around sailors who don't curse or drink. So I know for a fact Peter and them was wilding out. Them probably be people that I would want to hang out with. It's just a lot of the people who profess to be a lot of these different things aren't people that I really want to hang out with. And it's not about and my guy Chris put up a really good point. It's not about not being blameless and not making a mistake. The problem is that sometimes we like to point the finger and make it seem like these people are evil, these people are bad. But at the same time, you're doing the same things. It kind of goes back to Bishop Eddie Long. Bishop Eddie Long was one of the foremost pastors that was against gays. He preached every Sunday from his pulpit with such vitriol to find out that he was having a homosexual affair. That's the problem. It's like, you can't just sprinkle Jesus on top of something and say that, oh, well, it's cool because I have that, and then bash people who are doing the same thing. That's why I have a fundamental problem with it, which I have a fundamental problem with the next thing. The next thing is I have a very good friend, a very phenomenal man, Christian man at that, who's also pro-abortion, who's also pro a lot of stuff, but it's somebody who I have seen in the trenches. No, it's none of those right there. It's by the name of Corey Simon, and he's in a political match, and he went viral yesterday. Oh, excuse me, 2 days ago, and he went viral because he was asked a loaded question. Question that I'm going to go out and say I don't necessarily 100% believe in. Now, Corey is running as a Republican against a Democrat, Lorraine Osley, and I had a good discussion with a friend in message. I'm not going to go into the details, but what he said, and I told him, I said, man, if people really knew about Lorraine Osley's past, why would they just go here and talk about Corey? People call Corey a far right-wing conservative. People have called Corey all these other different things. Somebody even went as far as to say that I thought Corey was a good person. She had an opportunity to ask Corey any question. And Corey Simon is a former All-American defensive tackle for Florida State, played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Corey was asked, do you believe in the election result? The election results were valid in the 2020 presidential election. They said that your opponent could ask you any question. She could have asked him about his policies. She could have asked him about things that he was against, things that were contrary. She asked him a question that had nothing to do with basically Northwest Florida, in which they represent. So he answered, doesn't matter what I think. President Biden is, in fact, our president, and we are worse off for it. Now, you don't have to agree with that last part of it, but he answered your question. That went viral, and that made people judge its entire and a man whose whole life has been about serving the community. I tell people my book bag drives and my food distribution. I had to tell this person, Corey is instrumental in the things that I do in Tallahassee. These tickets and some of the things that I've wanted to do, Corey is instrumental in making sure I can connect the dots with those people. But when I had this discussion with somebody, and I said, well, have you ever looked into the background of some of the people that you just vote for? And he said, and I told him about the lady's background. He says, I never knew her to be racist. But there's an article that literally came out that dictated her whole background. Her family's are slave owners. They were active against desegregation. Now, so that's in her lifetime. The people that raised her fought desegregation in Tallahassee, Florida. Fought Reverend C.K. Steele, who the bus station is named after, who the church that my mama goes to, and they march every MLK Day. They march to C.K. Steele Plaza. They were active in the Civil War, all through modern times. The slaves that they sold helped to build the banks and all the Capital City Bank, which is one of them, which also has a history of practices against African Americans. The law firm, the Tallahassee Democrat, in turn as well. The Osleys partnered with avowed white supremacists that fought bitterly against desegregation on buses, schools through the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. She's never acknowledged, she's never confirmed nor denied. She's never even acknowledged that these are the things that are publicly in her past. But yet, we will go and we will take a guy who has actively done things in the community and say that he's no longer for black people when he has a history of doing things. And to the point where they pick on his commercial where he talks about growing up poor with his mom. And I asked the question, if I ever ran with all the things that people see me do, what would you say about me if I ran as a Blood, which is a Republican? What would you say of me if I ran as a Crip? One of the things that I've always done is I've acknowledged the hypocrisy on both sides and how it's completely wrong. That's public record. It's an article that has facts that you can go look up and check on your own. That was clearly about her. So as a black man, am I less black for voting for a black man who grew up in the same circumstances that I grew up in, that has the same heart for me, but because he's a Republican, I'm less black, than voting for a Democrat who literally comes from a family history and has never denounced that family history and has actually benefited from that family history? I'm cool if I vote for the person who's literally had a history of making sure that my people are not in good positions. So it's flipped. It's literally the exact same thing, but flipped on both sides. If you're a Christian and you're backing Warnock, you're backing Herschel Walker, who's completely opposed to your Christian principles, and Ralph Warnock, who literally is in line with what you do as a white person or a black person, if you only vote for one side, you're messed up. You're not voting for the best candidate. You're voting for power or perceived power. And the same thing goes on the flip side that's going on in Tallahassee, Florida. So you can't be a free thinker, because that's why it's funny. People say, James, I like the way you think. You like the way you think. Why I think when I agree with you. I am a true free thinker. I'm not just a free thinker because I have to kind of not vote one way. I have to register one way. I don't vote one way. I vote for literally who I believe the best candidates are. And I say this, the funniest thing, all my book bag drives I've had, literally one Crip helped me. And that was my last one. And I've known her my entire life. So she's going to always get a vote from me. Because I know what she is. I know what she stands for. But I reached out to a bunch of other ones. One I grew up with that just got into some trouble, had to resign, wouldn't even return my calls for the community in which he is responsible for. So again, I always tell people, you got to be careful with these things. And, sometimes some of us are a little bit more than just our athletic backgrounds. So don't just try to belittle the fact that we were great at something, so great that we could be part of the 2%, into thinking that we're just some pushover slobs. Some of us are. I think Herschel's problem is Herschel played when they had the smooth leather helmets. Herschel might have CTE, And he does have multiple personalities and diagnoses. But again, at the end of the day, is that somebody that I want representing my nation? It's got nothing to do with him as a man. It's just got everything to do with those things. So again, I look at people. But I do also know that if I ever wanted to make more money, I could just do what Kanye West does. Kanye West is a fucking genius. Like, and that's not me agreeing with, because here's the thing. You're never going to, I like Yeezys. I'm still looking for the pure platinum Air Yeezy 2s. I'm going to buy them. If he comes out with another fire colorway for the 350s, you know what I'm going to do, Miles? I'm going to buy them shits. I've peeped what Candace Owens has been doing years ago. Oh, and what's why? Oh, my bad. The wildest thing about the Herschel Walker thing. Herschel Walker a few months ago said, "Why does everything have to be about race?" Right? This you can't make this shit up. And this is what this is my real big problem with all of this stuff. Is that you'll get on this platform, and I'll never get on that platform and say everything's. I'll say when I really believe things are about race and when they're not. Herschel was asked about this at an event. That's a lie. The Daily Beast, they said that about my kids also, they lied. So I don't take anything that seriously. And I think right now I ask this question. Would they be doing that if I was white? Guys like him and Candace Owens tell black people don't play the race card until it's convenient to play the race card. And the crazy thing is, it's a card in the deck that we shouldn't have in the deck because the world should be a better place. But that's not the way the world works, especially America. E pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one. We'll never be France. We'll never be Russia. We'll never be the rest of Europe because we were not created that way. We were created to be different. And when you have a bunch of differences, you know what ends up happening? People have implicit bias, and you have to always work through those things. But again, in order to get better, you have to recognize, and recognition is how you breed accountability. But going back into that, like everybody, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Everybody's canceling Kanye again, and you guys know what I believe. There is no such thing as cancel culture if you're good. Kanye is an incredible musician. Kanye is a very, very artistic. Kanye wore a White Lives Matter shirt, and the reality at a Paris Fashion Week, and you know what it did? It got a lot of attention to something that I would never know about.
That's my problem. I just don't want to know anymore.
Right. So the thing is, just like if you don't give it the attention that they're trying to get, you know what happens? He stops doing it.
But he's so good at getting it.
Man, that's part of his genius.
Get out of my life.
And that's why I tell people there's a mute button on Twitter. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Anytime I see, like when Kanye's been doing this since Katrina. They didn't ask him anything about President Bush. That man just went up and said, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And you know what it did? It pissed off a bunch of white people that said they'll never support Kanye West. And it made a bunch of black people believe, oh, he's for the cause. And then through the years, he's done these things. But here's one of the wildest points, though. And this is what I tell about, again, you know, if you listen to my show enough, I talk about everything, black people in general. Black people, you can't say you hate Kanye because of his stance, but then put his white ex-wife on a pedestal that you have placed her on. All you're doing is agreeing with him without agreeing with him. And it's just how you do it. And again, that's the only way Candace Owens is extremely brilliant. This is a chick who went to college because she got help from the NAACP to sue the school system that she was a part of for racial discrimination, but then says that doesn't exist.
Damn.
If I want to become a billionaire tomorrow, I already know how to get one team to the extremes of that team. And then I know how to pay the other team mad. But the thing is I truly like being a free thinker. I love good, bad, and ugly about everything about this country. And myself included. I know what my flaws are, and I find out more flaws every day. But running away from them doesn't help. And I wish I was as good as Kanye, man. Because Kanye is really.
Still love his music.
I'm not finna not bump college dropout. I'm not gonna not bump graduation. Devil in the was it? Not Devil in the Red Dress is a movie. Devil in the Black Dress is the one with him and Rick Ross. I'm never gonna dislike some of these things. One of the best lines, I'm gonna tell y'all what George Bush told me, F y'all, we out of here. Like that was one of the greatest lines ever. Now, his mom died, that might have made him go crazy. I don't know. My mom is good and alive. I hope she stays. I hope she lives forever. I'm actually one of those selfish sons that hopes my mother outlives me. But I don't want to know what it's like to live without Carmen. But I do know Kanye has had to be strong-willed and mentally dope to be able to get to where he's at. And he's earned the right to unapologetically not give a fuck about anything and anybody's opinions, except for the ones that provide him resources, which is what he has done. And we all have the right to just say, fuck it. Now, here's why I don't like what Kanye did. Because Devil in a New Dress, yep, dope ass one. Here's why I don't like what Kanye did. And here's why I don't like the revisionist history of America. And here's why I used to tell people when I was coming up, you try that stupid shit with me, I'll whoop your ass. And luckily I went to a high school that was not far away from where I grew up, but it wasn't the public school that I went to, because it kind of probably would have been some brawls if I would have went to Rickards and Lincoln. But at Florida High, we had enough soft kids, whatever, that when I said that, and my friends came to all the JV games, they'd be on the sidelines, and nobody would tell them to leave, because they knew if something was going to go down, we was going to go down too. But every day, this is why I'm not 100% sure if we're getting better or worse, or if we're just staying the same. But a California high school football team has been forced to forfeit the entire season after some of their players chose to participate in a fake slave auction and it posted it on social media. There are a few things that I don't think, and this is why I'm mad at Will Smith for making another fucking slave movie. Not only have we taught in the school system, we have made in movies, we have made in all these different things. We have made slavery to look like it was a bad day at summer camp, or it was America going through puberty in its wild stages. Even DeSantis has gone on record and said, that's why we fought the American Revolution, was to change slavery. I promise you, go look the shit up. The man in galoshes said this shit. But actually, I haven't heard the sound. So if you could play the actual sound, I've only read it, and I was trying not to get mad. I'm not gonna get mad right now, but I was just I didn't, because I have 2 young sons right now, and I'm gonna tell you what would happen in my household to everybody if something like this happens, or like these things continue to happen. So go ahead and play that, Miles.
What the
So they're auctioning, they're doing all these different things. Like I've seen videos of kids going to cotton farms and picking cotton for a day. I've seen videos of a lot of different stuff. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen right now. That's Trey or Kai up there with the because nobody's above reproach when it comes to this, right? If my sons are up there and allowing somebody to put chains on their neck and bid on them, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of them. I'm gonna show my sons like lashes and shit, crackers. I'm gonna crack that whip on their ass, and then I'm gonna whoop those parents' asses of those kids who decided that this was fun, because that's taught.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna whoop my son's ass for not having enough self-esteem and to not know and not having enough balls to say that this ain't right. It is not funny to go through. Like we ain't that far removed from that shit. Like, we ain't doing no civil rights marches. We ain't doing no fucking sit-in shit. We ain't doing none of that shit. This is bullshit. And unfortunately, and this is when people say few bad apples, bullshit, all this stuff. And I agree. A few bad apples with like, kids cursing. Like with major shit like this, but you actually know what? Fuck all that. You know what happens if you don't take out the bad apples? It literally does spoil everything. So now everybody has to suffer because these dumbass motherfuckers decided they wanted to do this shit.
you also have to look at the starved attention seeking
Right.
these kids are doing. I mean, it's for the life.
There's a guy who goes on social media and like has like, you know, kids like white kids or somebody will come and they say the N-word. Every year we see something. I didn't know my life shouldn't be ruined because it's in the end. At this point, if you don't know that that's bad, then you're just you don't deserve to be a part of society. You can't call me James Razorback because I just defended the guy that y'all thought was fucking blackface. Like, and he's fucking Indian. It's like, why? And so now I hope you don't get to go to college. I hope they make an example of not just the white students. I want the black students to be made an example of so that they can start realizing that that shit is unacceptable. Have some fucking pride. If you don't have pride in yourself and your name, like, there's nothing. I love every aspect of my. Actually, I might be the only person in America who wants to get darker. But again, I will never, like, my sons are Spanish and black. They will never be ashamed of being Panamaniacs. They will never be ashamed of being black. I would claim my white ethnicity, but I promise you, the Irish people in my family have never invited me to their family reunion. I like Irish shit. I just wouldn't wear the skirt that they wear. But I would love to participate in those games. My great granddaddy, could pass for a white man, but chose to be a black man because that's what he was. That's just, again, this is what I blame. The kids need to be held responsible. And really what happens is when you hold those kids responsible to that, you know who really bears the brunt of that? Is their parents. Their parents bear the brunt of that. Because their parents should be the ones instilling something in them to let them know. But what we're worried about is some fake ass CRT curriculum that ain't even being taught. Not on the elementary level, not on the middle school level, not on the high school level. You only learn about CRT if you're trying to practice law about how a potential social construct that was created without an entire minority involved in the creation process could potentially be systemic. There ain't no kill whitey worksheets going through in public schools. And if there were, this probably wouldn't have happened, but it would probably be a little bit more bad repercussions when this happens to these kids. But the reality of the situation is this: parents want to legislate teachers to do some stuff, but don't want to be involved in the house. And I believe that this, just like I should go to jail if I don't let my son go to school, if this stuff starts happening, you need to be held responsible. But the bigger piece in all of this is you got to stop being complicit. Stop raising punk ass boys, white and black. I'm a perfect example. And I'm going to tell you how these kids really want to learn. I coach lacrosse. You want to know what's not very big in lacrosse? Black people. Literally, my entire lacrosse team is white. We work out 6 a.m. They have a great reverence of me. Maybe a little fear because I do speak the way I speak to you guys, to my kids. And I tell them all the time, I don't give a fuck about this stipend. I give a fuck about winning. And that is my job, to make you a winner. If you want to flex up, I'm going to beat your ass. And then you can tell your daddy, and I'm going to beat your daddy ass. And if they want to get lawyers involved, my lawyer's going to whoop their ass. And I have no fear of it. And it's not so much the threaten. It's just to let them know that, hey, you can do what I tell you to do and get great, or you can be a loser your whole life. But I don't have any of this with my lacrosse team. We're the Bulldogs, right? And it was something that they did. It sounded like monkey sounds. And it was right after the thing with the hockey team here locally in Jacksonville. And I told them, I was like, hey, man, cut that shit out. I don't like that shit. I don't like monkeys at all. They were like, why? I said, matter of fact, and I tell people, you give my kids some monkey shit, I'm going to whoop your ass. Because I know, like, you might not know what that means, but I know what that means. But then again, I know it's also something. White people put monkeys on the kids. They dress the kids as monkeys for Halloween. It's never been a flattery thing for black people. Just don't do it. Don't give your black friends monkey shit. And I explained to them why they don't do that and why they says, you know what we never had again? We never had another monkey sound. I said, create another one where the bulldogs bark. I had them motherfucking white boys barking like Omegas. It was dope. It was an understanding. They learned history. They want to learn. They want to do right. They will do what you deem acceptable. Kids are kids. In particular, athletes love to be coached and coached properly. I don't even know if I'm going to put that on the coach, but I do know this. We had another guy, Stojan. Stojan ended up becoming a preacher and becoming a great man. Stojan got knocked out by Gary, who ironically became a preacher too, but Gary smoked weed every day. Stojan fucked around and said the N-word to Gary in the locker room and fucked around and found out. You know that chart that's going viral? The amount of fuck, you want to know how much fucking around you can do? And find out how much find out? Well, Stojan went 10 and Gary went 10. He fucked around and found out. So this is I've never told this story. My first day of football. My god brother Kevin Colley picked me up. I was complaining, did not want to play. I got to go in there to get my helmet. And Florida High is not a medical school at Florida State. I walk in there. All I hear is anarchy, screaming. I see a white boy with his lips split from here to here. Blood running down his face. And I see this crazy motherfucker Gary who had just got done smoking, eyes dark as my beard is, eyes bloodshot red. I told that motherfucker stop fucking with me. He said that. I told him if you say that N-word again, I'ma split his motherfucking shit. And I split his motherfucking shit. Stojan is like just in that. So I see him and I see this motherfucker dripping. This is my first day of football at a private school, mind you. I'm like, man, what the fuck is going on, man? What movie am I in right now? And it's just like everybody's oh yeah, a lot of screaming and my coach is just like, that's just another day. Here's your helmet, son. Here's your shoulder pads. Hurry up. Practice is in 10 minutes. Stojan became a really good person after that. Got his shit split. It's a beautiful thing in the locker room. If the world was more like the locker room, the world would be a better place. That's why I love sports. And why I really love sports, and I'm going to end it with a high note, and I'm going to do something different with Green Acres. I'm not going to put them in on this shit. Again, I learned so much about Arabs when I kick it with Arabs. So much different than what people think. But commentators in sports gives us some of the names. Like you see Cock, you see Booty. You see so many players with so many weird names that as a commentator just makes you like Young Ho Koo. The kicker for it's just dope to be able to say, man, that Ho Koo. But there's a French player by the name of Steve. Steve has an interesting spelling of his name. It's 2 E's in it. Steeve. Maybe it's Stevie. I don't know. He's French. But when you look at what his last name is, it's so much greater. And that is legit. I was trying to find the backstory, like to see if that's really his name. And that's really that whole name. Steve Ho You Fat. Ho You Fat. This is why I want to be in sports more every day. I thought Chad Johnson got fined for changing his jersey to Ocho Cinco. He changed his name to Ocho Cinco. Then you've got other guys, you got people, it's just like he played in America. He's going viral. It's awesome, man. I would love to hear my guy with the new voice of Florida State come in and say that hold your fat for the 3.
I just want to buy the jersey.
I want the jersey.
Yeah. Because people didn't think it's a joke.
It's like He Hate Me was a great name back in the XFL days, but nothing in this world is better than Ho You Fat. Because you could just say it and then like somebody could be messing with you and be like, man, Ho You Fat. You said what? Nah, Ho You Fat shooting a 3 on right. That's that basketball player from France. Anyways, man, appreciate y'all for kicking it with me. It went a little long today. Just be open-minded. Let's have a good time with each other because this is the last season of Earth anyway. So we don't really know how much longer we're gonna be. So enjoy this. Remember this. I wore this shirt because Kanye wore his, but all lives matter, but some matter better than others. Fullbacks matter. And I just want people to know we're dying. People are trying to kill us, but we're so resilient. Only the winning teams use us. So if you didn't notice what I had on the entire time, it was more of a tongue-in-cheek joke. No, I will not be like Candace Owens. Because at the end of the day, as I told one guy who used to be my friend, but he said some shit that was a little too wild on social media consistently. I said, I'm black, I'm young, I make pretty good money, and I have extremely good credit, and you would not change places with me. So let's not pretend. But there is privilege. And privilege doesn't mean you don't work hard. I have great Florida State privilege, and my son gets to live his best life based on my privilege, based on the privilege that I earned. That's what a good dad does. But at the end of the day, if you don't acknowledge it, who are you? And I want to go back and I want to tie it up. Same thing with the Lorraine Osley lady. That's who's running against Corey Simon. She can't help what her ancestors did, but she can't help not acknowledging it. Not acknowledging it, that's how you got to your position, is doing nothing but spitting in the face of the constituents that you claim you care about.
Right.
And that's just the facts, man. Anime fans do matter. They're weird, but and I'm saying that as a guy who has a son who's a fucking anime dork. And I love him. I love the fact that he could be whoever he wants. Because daddy couldn't be an anime dork. Because daddy couldn't, grandmama couldn't afford fucking anime or whatever to watch it back then. So that's probably the reason why. I am a comic book nerd. So on that note, man, appreciate you guys for chopping it up with me, man. Have a blessed week. It's hump day. Ladies, let some man see them humps. Fellas, enjoy yourself. Everybody be blessed. See y'all Friday.